All right, everybody, which is nobody. Someone happened to schedule a ServiceNow live stream. Might be Bill McDermott, but there's a big announcement going on at exactly the same time as my weekly live stream. So I'm not expecting a lot of people. Plus, my topic today is regulatory change management, which probably doesn't appeal to a lot of people, but I know there's people out there that do care about it. So I am going to cover it nonetheless. It will be fun, even if I'm here by myself for maybe to take the pressure off. But let's see. Oh, I see what I did. Okay. All right. So, regulatory change management. What are we here to talk about? Um, how can I summarize it? Basically, the purpose of this application is, in theory, not in theory, what happens is around the world, governments, regulating bodies, um, local authorities, stuff like that, they release regulations or they release laws or frameworks for how to comply with certain things. And the the way that you typically see people manage that is there's some poor person who's going to different services, different websites, and kind of downloading those and saying like, "Oh my God, are we compliant with this?" and tracking that. And so, regulatory change management is meant to kind of centralize that to ServiceNow. It's part of the integrated risk management suite, or otherwise known as governance, risk, and compliance. And so, it allows you to kind of funnel all that into one place and maybe even map some taxonomy to I'm looking at the live stream and I wonder if how come my head's not up there yet. Oh, it's just YouTube seems to be behind. LinkedIn is updated. Hmm. Did I go live on YouTube? Yeah, I went live on YouTube. My YouTube stream is showing like the intro slide, um, the with the music and everything. And I don't know why it hasn't gotten to my head part because I've been talking for a little bit. But there's two people on there now, so YouTube people, if you're watching and you feel like leaving a comment, I'm wondering if are you still seeing the live stream opener or are you seeing me on the screen? Uh, the feedback I'm getting, in fact, I can show you. It's showing like my live stream opener for some reason. All right, thank you, Robert. Appreciate that. You know, it's funny. LinkedIn is showing me nobody's there too, so maybe I should just not believe what I'm seeing when I'm streaming, which is not important, but I just want to make sure like my head was on the screen and I was actually showing it. So, anyways, thank you, Robert. Appreciate that feedback. Um, the so the purpose of regulatory change is that we have a place to centralize all these changes that are coming in. So I have one slide, just one slide to show you to kind of illustrate. This is ServiceNow slide, and they were highlighting on this slide their recent innovations with the Xanadu release, which is funny because tomorrow we get to find out what comes out in Yokohama. But looks like the rule was new, the analyze capability was new, and the collaboration piece down here was new. But essentially, what we're doing with regulatory change management is we do want to bring in those regulations, those new laws, whatever they are, and centralize into the platform. And the first thing that someone's going to do with this application is kind of decide like, does this really apply to us? Like, do we need to be worried about it? And that may require some kind of analysis. And oh, I realize what's new here. They're highlighting the AI recommendation. So the machine learning slash AI stuff, which I'll point out as we're going through the application. But part of doing that analysis is maybe doing an impact or a risk analysis, which we'll cover here in the demo. Essentially, is this a legal threat or a legal a reputational threat? Is it going to affect our business? And what actions do we need to take? And so we can actually manage the actions in order to be compliant with whatever that new regulation is or that change in regulation. And that might involve, like, depending on the industry, it could involve updating a policy, it could involve updating an application, releasing new features, releasing enhancements, doing some training, all kinds of things, right? Because you can imagine this affects the entire business, not just the compliance team, but this would be used by most compliance teams. So that's the idea. Bring these alerts in, manage the alerts, figure out whether they're applicable to that company or that organization, and then do a risk assessment. So that's where integrated risk is involved. And if you're using the rest of the governance, risk, and compliance suite, that could be updating things like authority documents and citations and control objectives and controls. All of those things show and demonstrate compliance, right? That's the purpose of those applications. So you might use regulatory change management to update those things too in ServiceNow. So that's the idea of regulatory change management. So that brings me back here to the compliance workspace is where we'll start this particular demonstration. And I'm in the overall compliance workspace. There's more than regulatory change management, but I'm going to head to regulatory change management. If you didn't see it, I just used this navigation menu here on the left-hand side to move into regulatory change management. And this is I'm doing this from a workspace intentionally. I think the workspace is the better and more modern view and experience that your users are going to see. So that's what I would recommend is the workspace view. But anything we're showing today, we can still do in the legacy view, right? All the workflows and forms and task assignments and all that stuff will still work there. Now, this is the overview dashboard. So remember I said there's something called alerts coming in from different regulatory bodies. It could be ServiceNow has a native integration, not native, sorry, ServiceNow has a pre-built integration with Thomson Reuters uh, Regulatory Intelligence, I think it's called. So Thomson Reuters Regulatory Intelligence. That requires a subscription. So you got to go buy a subscription from Thomson Reuters. ServiceNow doesn't facilitate that. But if you do have it, we can connect it easily into ServiceNow. And Thomson Reuters basically monitors the world or the governing bodies, if you will, and tries to bring all that stuff in based on different industries and different sectors. So that's the advantage of having Thomson Reuters. But as you know, like your local town council or your county government probably isn't going to get picked up in something like that. Or if you have like a niche area, maybe I don't know, medical devices in Kenya. I don't know, like that would be a specific niche thing that might not necessarily show up in Thomson Reuters. And so, if those providers or those regulating bodies have a website with an RSS feed, we can actually connect those RSS feeds into ServiceNow, and then that would bring them into the alerts, which is that first widget showing here on the screen. The alerts, and we've got a couple of them in my demo environment. So we've got some that are new, some that are in progress, some that have an impact assessment, and some that are deferred. So you're kind of seeing the state of those alerts right there. And then if you decide that the alert is applicable, we can generate some change tasks. These are not ITSM change tasks. These are regulatory change tasks. And that task is usually assigned to someone like a compliance analyst, right? Let me go see what this new law is or this new regulation is and do some analysis on it, is how that's actually working. JJ William has a question. What is the name of the regulatory app Thomson Thomson Reuters Regulatory Intelligence is the name of that. In fact, let's go spelunking. Thomson Reuters. Ooh, I've actually searched for it recently. How's that? So this is the name of that app, JJ Thompson, and it's not really an app so much as it is a service that Thomson Reuters is providing, and you got to go through their sales team, whatever. And then when that gets configured in ServiceNow, they're shipping a file to your instance, and they use secure FTP or SFTP. Drop that on the mid server, bring it into ServiceNow, and Bob's your uncle. So that's the service. But you can do that with any RSS feed as well. So if there's an RSS feed for the regulating body, we can definitely connect that. So thanks, JJ, for that question. Appreciate it. Appreciate you being here. Speaking of regulating bodies and importing stuff, there is the concept of import document tasks. And so if you think about the greater use case for integrated risk management or governance, risk, and compliance in ServiceNow, you may be doing monitoring the controls and control objectives, and you have your authority documents and your citations. So if there's a new regulation, let's say there's new AI regulation that comes out and affects like all IT companies, there may be a document associated with that regulation. And then if it applies to you, then you may want to create a document import task in order to bring those citations into your instance, right? So you got the regulatory alert making you aware that something needs to be analyzed and evaluated. And then the import document tasks would be used in the case that there's actually something to import if you're using those other pieces of the integrated risk suite. JJ says, thank you. You're very welcome, JJ. And you gave me a chance to use my new comment thing where I can make it show up on the screen. So I appreciate that. Appreciate you being here. If I scroll, well, I guess I should point out there are tasks associated with the application. So just above my head there, you can see a shortcut to get to your task. There's also a tasks menu, which we'll use. It's over here on the left-hand side. The little check mark button goes to the same place that this link does here. So they both open up tasks. If I scroll down a little bit, we can see when there's an impact actually set for a regulatory alert. Might be coming initially, maybe set to no impact, or maybe set everything to high. I don't. It's up to you how to set those. But eventually, at some point, you can specify an impact of low, medium, high, critical, or no impact. I thought I had a critical one in there. So that's that. Impacted entities is exactly what it sounds like who's impacted by this regulatory alert. In this case, the entities that are showing up are locations. But if you're familiar with ServiceNow and the IRM suite, Integrated Risk Management, entities are something you define, right, as part of implementing and using that application. So an entity could be a location, it could be a department, it could be a server, it could be a service, a business application. Anything that you can load into entities. And think about your CMDB. What's in your CMDB? Do you have application services, technical services, stuff like that? Those all can be defined as entities. So your impacted entities is kind of up to you. How granular, how detailed do you want to get with those entities? Then there's the topic of taxonomy. Right now, if you're using that Thomson Reuters regulatory intelligence feed, it comes with its own taxonomy out of the box. And that might be broken down like by healthcare or energy or whatever the industry, right, is, stuff like that. Here, we're using jurisdiction at the moment, but you can see some other taxonomy classes like theme, sector, regulatory body, and content type. I'll just click on a couple of these so you can see, okay, here's a sector of the sector view. You can see mortgage lending, retail banking, wholesale banking, et cetera, et cetera. So some different ways to break down this taxonomy. Another cool feature of this application is because there could be potentially, I don't know why I'm wearing headphones. I had it on at the beginning when the music was on, but there could be potentially different sources, right? So Thomson Reuters plus A, B, C, D, E, F, whoever other regulating bodies that might have stuff. So your taxonomy, you can have an internal taxonomy in the application and map that to the external taxonomy. This is really great if you have different, like maybe like in here we have data protection. Well, maybe some other regulating body has abbreviated that as data, DP. So you can have your own taxonomy and start mapping it so you have a consistent taxonomy within the application, and you're not kind of fighting with all the different external taxonomies that might come in as part of managing regulatory change. Down below is some tracking around task management. So just some widgets showing open alerts, unassigned alerts, impact assessments, what's open, what's overdue, issues, what's open, what's overdue, and other action tasks. So action tasks would be like, hey, we decided we're impacted, we got to do something, we got to get those assigned out. And all of this being said, that follows all of these tasks would be, you could have things like service level agreements, right? So how soon do you expect people to get assigned to an alert or complete their impact assessment or address an issue and provide some kind of response or complete their action task? Because it's ServiceNow, you can have notifications, you can have approvals. So you have all the bells and whistles of the platform to kind of help you facilitate this process. So you can imagine a compliance team who's been managing this over email or spreadsheets in a meeting or something could really benefit from an application like this. And when you're chasing all the cats or herding all the cats, as Allison likes to say. And then lastly, at the bottom of this landing page for regulatory change, it would be the trends. So we've got how many open alerts. Obviously, I built my demo environment, or maybe the demo data was from Q3 of 2024, so we saw a big spike there. and then trend by taxonomy. So there's right now it's going by jurisdiction, but again, we can change those different uh, categories to be able to see that. So that's the dashboard. Let's hop into the new alerts to show you what one might look like. And we have one for the demo here. I'll just do, I think it's stay ahead. And I just realized I did not reset my demo. So I'm going to go off script and we're just going to do this on not the one that I planned on, which is fine. Um, when you open an alert, you get the landing page, and this one doesn't have, well, actually, I know I said I was going to stick with that, but let me get rid of the filter here. And not closed, not new. There it is. I'll go back to the other one that I pulled up just to show that one, because this one's actually closed out, so we won't see any of the states change as I demo it. That's what I didn't reset. But what I did want to show is this description. Like, here is an example of what a regulatory change alert, the content of it, what it may look like. So you can see different sections with their reference numbers indicating scope and what you should do and what the new regulation is. So that's what that is right there. Let's go back into this one that is new so I can actually show you how this works. So we've got a description here. We got Mr. Yang Zikin for the Personal Data Protection Commission of Singapore gave a speech, right? So a speech, we're in a time of we in America are in a time of executive orders kind of flying out of the White House. And so that is like something that you may want to feed into here to see if you're impacted by it and need to do anything by it. So that could be a regulatory change. In this case, they're showing a speech, which I think is cool. The alert itself has a flow or stages to it. So the impact is being assessed. It's in progress. You're doing your follow-up actions and you're changing things or complying, and then it's closed. And then this overview also has a relationship view there at the bottom. I personally don't like the overview. I think it's a good concept, but for the working person, regardless of any application, most of the time they're going to want to get to the details. And one day I'll figure out how to. I know in Service Operations Workspace, ServiceNow released a feature where you can like go direct to the details. It's not a feature; it's like what's a feature, but it's a property I think you can set where the IT service management agents can kind of bypass the overview page, because when you're doing this every day and you're looking at all the, in this case, alerts, you don't need the overview. You just need to get in the details and start doing your job. So I wish they would do that for all the workspaces. But anyways, I'll get off my soapbox. The down here we've got, this is coming from Thomson Reuters. We've got a URL and a regulatory body URL. So I'm actually curious if this goes somewhere. Sometimes in a demo data, yeah, it says going nowhere. But it did go to the Personal Data Protection Commission of Singapore. That's pretty interesting. For this one, we can set a coordinator. In this case, I'm logged in as Chuck, so we'll do Chuck. Chuck Farley, where is he? There he is. And right now it's set as no impact. So the overall impact is set to none. We can see the dates. Obviously, these might be, wonder why they're all grayed out, because Chuck does have permission to edit these. Interesting. That might bite us later, but it's okay. We'll deal with it. So he's got the alert. He might decide, hey, we need to assess whether this is applicable to us or not. So let me go ahead and mark this as applicable. And that should move the state, which you can see right here above those banner messages that popped up. It moved from new to in progress. I haven't figured out this particular thing yet. There is the concept of issue management within the integrated risk management suite. And I noticed when I was showing this to a customer previously that there's issues are automatically getting created. So there must be some business rule or some flow or something that's picking up on the fact that a regulatory change moves into in progress. Because one of the things it's supposed to do is create the regulatory change task, which it actually did automatically for me. So I've got my task created, and all tasks are going to be spun off of that particular regulatory change task. And when we open that, you'll see the issues I'm talking about. So let's head over there. Regulatory change tasks. We got a new one. It's not assigned to anybody. So we'll open that up. And we've got the overview page again. You know how I feel about that. But the task itself has its own staged workflow. The neat thing about this is when this one goes to closed, So when it moves through its entire life cycle, that will update the regulatory alert, which will also go to close. So that one, this one right here, that's in progress. So there is a hierarchical nature to this application and how these tasks are divvied up. And the change task itself, as you'll see in the demo, will have action tasks spun off of that. The details for this regulatory change task includes a reference to the alert. So if you need to get back there, you can use our little icon and it'll take you back there. Let's see, go back to details. Nope, that's the wrong one. Go back to this right here. Jace is here. Welcome, Jace. Are you coming from the other live stream from ServiceNow? Because I figured no one would be here for my live stream when ServiceNow is doing their live launch of agentic AI. I think is what was going on. So, but welcome. Glad to have you. Glad to be here. I was just going over a regulatory change task. So here, if I'm a compliance analyst, I might want to provide some instructions. I need you to look at our services and see what might be impacted, right? Maybe you have more specific instructions for whoever you're assigning it to. In this case, I'm going to assign it to Jacob, who's the moodiest persona I think I've used in here. You'll see him here in a second. Let's see. Was it Jacob or is it Allison? I can't remember who it's supposed to be. Let me do Allison. I think it's Allison. I can change it later. It's no big deal. But anyways, we can set an assignment, who this task is assigned to. It's task management. Set a due date. Again, if you want to kind of keep people productive and doing what they're doing, doing what they're supposed to do, maybe set a due date on that, and then you can have some automation tied around deadlines and reminders and notifications, stuff like that, to get people to respond and do their job. Here's that issue I was telling you about, where it created it. Obviously, actually, it did assign it to somebody. There's no issue manager, but I still don't know why that's happening automatically, and I don't really care at this point. So I'll make sure for my customer that it doesn't do that. But for the demo, it doesn't really matter. In ServiceNow, if those of you, if you're watching and you're not familiar, we can use automation to kind of drive the behavior and the process. And so it might be creating an issue. I was actually talking to someone the other day. There might be, since the regulatory change task getting closes out the alert, you may want to automatically spin up an action that says one last review by the compliance team. So that way the alert doesn't get closed until they do the last review. And they seem to like that idea. But let's head back to, now that we've got this task assigned to Allison, let's go ahead and initiate the impact assessment. So we'll open up the regulatory alert here. And I don't have any impact assessments at the moment, but maybe I want someone to do that assessment. And I've lost my impact assessment button. So maybe that's why I shouldn't have acknowledged that particular one. Let's go back to the list view. Stay ahead. And I don't know, that one's closed. I don't have it there. It's this one. I'm gonna have to open another one. There should be an initiate impact assessment button up there. And I think I started the in progress before I initiated that. So let's go back to another one. We'll just kill my filter here and we'll find another new one. Set the standard for global crypto regulation. I like it. So we'll see the details there coming from the International Organization of Securities. That sounds interesting. So let's initiate an impact assessment. I'm going to use the default out-of-the-box impact assessment, and I'm going to send this to Jacob Williams, who is the owner for Acme Banking and Investments. Sounds appropriate. So we're talking about crypto. So Jacob now has an impact assessment for this other alert, and we can see that there. And I'll show you what it looks like from this point of view, right? So this has been tasked out to Jacob. So if I come in here, the person who tasked it to him, I can't really do anything because it's assigned to him. It's just kind of how it works. So let's go ahead and log in as Jason or Jacob. See Jacob, he's a moody little dude. I don't know if he's little, but he's not very happy. If you see his picture, he's very, very serious. Maybe that's how you have to be when you're dealing with these regulatory changes. I don't know. But let's go down to tasks. So I'm using the tasks menu there on the left-hand side. And because it's a compliance workspace, you're going to see a lot of other types of tasks, like for audit, evidence requests, stuff like that. We're looking for risk assessments. This application does use advanced risk assessment. So if you're wondering about licensing and stuff like that, I'm not going to answer those questions, but the applications that are in use are integrated risk management, regulatory change management, and advanced risk assessment are the applications that kind of compose or comprise all of this. So there's his risk assessment. Let's open it up and we can see he can start the assessment and reassign. I love that because sometimes, maybe he's a team or there's somebody else that's more appropriate to fill it out. And it does show him our due date that we put in there, or I didn't put it in there. It's probably automatically there. Start assessment, and it's pretty straightforward. This is all configurable using advanced risk assessment, but we can specify the legal impact. Maybe it's let's actually change that to, I think I want high. One thing I'm researching right now, because a customer asked me about it, is how to require a comment when a certain value is selected. So maybe if there's no impact, you don't care. But if someone says it's critical, maybe you want them to say why it's critical. It's critical because um, let's see, it's critical because we have our own meme coin that might be impacted. I don't know. Um, There we go. So it has my comment associated with that and the legal impact. Reputational impact, maybe that's critical. Financial impact, maybe that's critical. And business impact, and we'll just put that as critical. So that automatically creates a score. And again, this is all configurable in advanced risk, but it's rolling up those responses that I just gave and giving that a score. And I can maybe even provide some comments about that score. What a great score! Exclamation point. Now, just behind my head here, before I hit submit, there's this area for validating the risk assessment. And this is all I've done so far, and it validates it and says it's fine. I'm not sure how to introduce an error into this process. And I don't know if that's because my demo data just doesn't have that as a factor. But one day I'll learn more about this particular validation and see if there's some rules in it or something that I might be able to configure or show. But anyways, so that's this particular section of the risk assessment. So when Jacob is done, he can hit submit up there in the upper right above my head when I move it back, hit submit, and now that is right, almost done. Right, so this is almost complete. If our risk assessment had multiple sections, he could move on to the next section, right? So maybe there was something else down here to actually complete. In this case, there's not, so he's got to hit the submit button again, and we final chance for some comments. Again, it's not required. I'd love it, and I know other people would love it to be required, but we'll just say that was easy and submit our impact assessment, and that's it. That is the how we would submit an impact assessment. So I'm going to go back in as Chuck, who's the guy that assigned that to Jacob. Chuck is a pretty cool guy too. He's like Bill McDermott with the shades on, looking cool in his picture there. Let me show him there. There he is. Might be transition lenses, maybe. I don't know. We'll head over to Compliance Workspace again, and we'll open up the Regulatory Change Management tab, and then this one should be in progress now. And you know what? I didn't. Uh, it's not in progress. Sorry. It's impact assessment. Should see. Yeah, here we go. Impact assessment. And there's the global crypto regulation. So we'll open up that regulatory alert. And now we can see the impact assessment that Jacob completed and what the rating was that came back. Now, right now, it doesn't automatically update this overall impact. But I can imagine a savvy ServiceNow administrator might say, hey, when the impact assessment is completed, look at the rating or score and update this accordingly. Maybe you could use a decision table to kind of map the values over. I could see that as like an enhancement. Or in some cases, maybe your compliance analyst is a control freak and they don't want it automated. They want to manually change that themselves. So right now, out of the box, it's change it yourself. So I'm going to hit that to critical, and then I'm going to move this to applicable, right? So Jacob's looked at it. He says we're impacted. So we're going to say this is applicable. And that's the mistake I made on the earlier regulatory alert, is I hit this too soon before I should have. If he wanted to, if Chuck wanted to come in and associate an existing citation or authority document with this regulatory change, he can come in and click add, and it'll pull up all the citations that are in the instance and allow him to associate it. So let's just, for fun, what are my fields there? Authority documents. description. Let's see if there's anything with crypto. Not is. Let's do contains crypto. We'll run that. Yeah, I do have some. Okay. Cryptographic key management, which is not what I wanted. Cryptographic keys, cyber fraud. So not anything that's truly crypto. They're talking about encryption and security there, not necessarily um, coins or stuff like that. But man, there's like 236 of them that contain that. Let's try something else. Let's search for Bitcoin. Ah, okay. Anyways, so you can associate an existing, let me just clear that filter, run it here. So we can associate an existing reference or an existing document. This is part of the bigger picture of integrated risk management is tracking these citations. So I'm just going to add one for fun. And now that's associated with it. So I have the citation reference, the authority document is associated to, and then we're just relating it to this. Now there could be, if I had the AI stuff turned on in this PDI, in this demo instance, there could be AI slash machine learning that would automatically look at those different citations and make recommendations on, hey, you should reference this. I don't. It's not turned on. Many of us in the ServiceNow community can't use a lot of the new AI stuff, and I'm not happy about it. You've probably heard me talk about it before. It's hard to be a champion of something that you can't get your hands on and show people and discover how it works. And so unfortunately I'm not able to show you this, but there, if you had the AI machine learning stuff turned on, it could show up here, and you could take its recommendations and automatically associate the documents that are appropriate to this regulatory change. So done with that soapbox, and I'm looking at my script here, recommendations. Okay, so back here to regulatory tasks. I do have my task here for that. And I covered this before when I was showing you how that got generated and all the issues and stuff like that. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is assign this to Allison. I told you Allison was involved. And we'll set myself as the approver, Chuck. And we'll set a date for, again, next week. We want people to be responding to our regulatory changes on time. We'll save that. And then we're going to impersonate Allison and see what this looks like from her perspective. So think of Chuck as like the compliance manager and Allison as the compliance analyst. And the Jacob guy is like a compliance user, right? He did that impact assessment for this particular regulatory change alert. All right. Not sure what that screen was. So Allison has a task now. It's going to be a regulatory change task showing up here. Notice she has a lot less stuff than Jacob did when he logged in. And let's get our global crypto regulation task up here. And she gets the same view as Chuck did. So we saw this before. It's all assigned to her. But notice the menuing has changed at the top. She has this respond button actually showing. So we're going to go ahead and I like to think of it as the acknowledging, right? So she's responding to this task, this regulatory change task that's been assigned to her. And once I've done that, it automatically generated a compliance task. And in fact, it generated two. I'm used to it generating one that was meaningless, but there's a job somewhere or something that's making that happen. What I want to show on this is that it might be Allison might want to assign tasks to other people, right? So with these action tasks, think of them as this is the action that you need to take in order to comply with that regulatory change alert. So she can set a priority for the task itself, critical, high, moderate, low planning. She can put a short description. Let's do update the service to not allow payments using Bitcoin. I don't know. I don't even know what the regulation was, but I'm trying to stay with the theme here. So she could put a description on that. Maybe she's going to farm that out to the development team or the product team or whoever in order to do something. She can categorize it. So this is, again, getting into the bigger application suite configuration. I want to make sure, I think my head is in the right direction. Yeah, okay. So she can specify compliance or risk. If it's compliance, she can specify which table is related to it. So is it an authority document? Is it a citation? Is it a control or a control objective, a policy exception? All of those are coming from the compliance application. Or is it risk related? And if it is, what is going to be a risk statement, a risk itself, or the risk framework that's associated with it? And then you can target a particular thing. So in this case, let's go actually to compliance. I think that's a better look at an authority document, and we'll set an authority document. And I think maybe uh, payment card industry. That sounds good because I'm talking about not allowing payments using Bitcoin. So we'll target the PCI and we'll just say for instructions, um, need to comply. Please update functionality and our policy, maybe. Policy is one of the other things I could have selected. So if you have policies, can't spell. If you have policies in the system, we could have referenced a policy document instead of just an authority document. So let's see here, policy. There it is, policy. We'll leave the authority document because we're just doing this for fun. And then we'll assign this to, who am I supposed to assign this to? Chuck Farley. Put a date on it, just like we've been doing. So the task management is pretty, straightforward. If you've seen a task, you've seen them all. Hit save on there, and now we've got an action task associated with my mysterious issue error there. But now he's got a task assigned to him, Chuck Farley, and he can come in and do it. So all is good there. Now, in order for Chuck to do anything, I realized when I was first setting up this application, um, there there needs to be an approval, and I think it's on this record here, this regulatory change. So think about the process there. Allison would come in, she'd do all her creating her tasks, which we have here. In fact, let's see if we can reassign these to Chuck. Why can't I spell today? What's wrong with me? You know, since I got like some cool people in the rooms, um, this has been a common experience for me on workspaces where ServiceNow's auto suggestions show like they're showing kind of behind Chrome's suggestions. And what I'd love to know, and I just haven't had time to actually go research this, is how to turn Chrome's off when I'm in these workspaces because they're useless. Like if I was to click the Chrome suggestion, it just searches again and I still have to click here. So I haven't figured out how to turn this off so that we can just stick with this. So drop me a note, shoot me an email, send me a message on LinkedIn if you know, because this is something not only do I want to figure out, I want to make a video and show people how to kind of make this experience better in workspaces because this is annoying. I'm using Chrome. I don't know if it happens in Firefox or Edge, but yeah, this experience in Chrome. So okay, let's get this out into Chuck Farley. Every time I see that, I think of Chris Farley. What about you guys? Okay, we'll save that and then we'll request approval. And now that we've requested approval, let's come in here. So Chuck's got to come in here and approve. So let's go impersonate Chuck, which we were going to do anyways. For those of you that might not be familiar, impersonating is what ServiceNow lets us do to log in as different users and see that everything is functioning right. Also works really well for demos and showing people how products and applications work. I think that should show up in his tasks. I think there should be an approval. There is not. There's no approval. So let's go into the regulatory change view and we'll open up in progress and we'll open up this regulatory change alert and we should see the regulatory change task. There it is. And I should have a tab for approvers and I can open up my approval, which is a state in a state of requested. And the reason I'm doing this is because none of those action tasks can be moved along in the process until this approval is done. So they're out there and they're waiting on people. They're in a draft state. So if we look at these action tasks, see how they're all in draft? So they're going to stay in draft, which means they're not going to get notified or anything until this approval is done. So it's a good gate, I guess, to make sure that, hey, everything's good with this before we farm out the task to everybody and put work on people's queues. So let's, this is the second time I've clicked this. Come on. Let's try that. Okay. So Chuck can come in here. He can do his review. We'll pretend he did, and then he can change this to approved or cancel it. There's a cancel button up here to save. And now this is approved. And now those action tasks that are all assigned to Chuck should have moved to new, I think it is. Let's just refresh. Ready. Um, Yeah, so they're all ready except the one that I don't know where it came from. Is set to draft, but I really don't know. Let's change it to. Oh, it won't let me. Let's open it and change it. See if we can change it. It's not going to let me. Can I delete it? I can delete it. The reason I'm doing this is because the regulatory change task won't close until all those are done. And so I need that to either have a different state or be gone. And it is be gone. This other one, I don't know where it came from either. But anyways, this is the one we created for Chuck. So he can come in here, he can see his action. He's got the progress, new in progress, closed. He's got the details that Allison left him about need to comply, please exit the functionality and the policy associated with this. And he can reassign this. He can log all his notes to this particular task. But essentially, this is where the work is done in order to respond to the regulatory change. And for Allison, for the compliance analyst, or for the compliance manager, this is allowing them to kind of keep track of everything and make sure everybody is doing their thing. So if you have hundreds of alerts flying in, this task management right pays for itself, right? Most people who don't have something like this are going to see a spreadsheet or emails back and forth, stuff like that. But anyways, that's what the action task looks like. In order for Chuck to move this along, he's going to use UI actions or buttons in order to move the state forward. There's no state field, as you can see on the screen, for him to say this is work in progress. So let's just go ahead and move that to work in progress. And then once he goes and does his work, he can come back up here and hit the close button. Or they want us to show in the demo script that kind of ServiceNow puts this together is we can start a sidebar discussion. So maybe Chuck wants to talk to Able Tutor, who is typically in most instances an architect, and say, I have some questions uh, about how the application offers a choice for paying with Bitcoin. And he can start that discussion, and that will open a window there in the right where they can have that discussion. And it's all associated with this particular task, this particular action task. So I thought that was pretty cool. Let's see, we can add to favorites, discussion info, about, participants, can leave the discussion. This feels very much like sidebar. Quick actions, search KB article. What does this button do? I don't want to search KB article. Go away. This button does exactly what I didn't want it to do. Okay. There's no KB articles, so for that. So I can put emojis in, heart eye emoji. That's pretty cool. And I can have a discussion back and forth. So typically that might have happened over email or chat messages or something like that, but you can do it natively in ServiceNow if you want to. Let's pretend that Chuck did all that. He closes his task, hits OK, and now that is completed. And we should see for our regulatory change tasks, and now that one has moved to completed. But our regulatory change task is still in a state of implementation because we still have this open task here, which also means our regulatory alert is still in progress. So this is what's going to change when we do that last action task. All that will update. So let's go ahead and see that happen. We'll go work in progress, just like before, show a detail screen, and then hit close, hit OK. And now his task is completed. The regulatory change task is now completed. You can see it right there at the top, state completed. And our regulatory alert should have moved to closed, and it did. That regulatory alert is still closed. So that's where I was telling my customer, and I'm telling you all, that with those list of actions on the regulatory change task, you may want one of those actions to be like that final review by the compliance team or something like that, so that the whole regulatory alert doesn't get closed out just because all of the action tasks that went out to everybody have been closed out. So that is that. All right, let's see. I finished most of what I wanted to show. The only other thing I didn't show is the use of issues. So we could have used issues. Let me go back and open another new one here, or in progress. Let's see, cost of DOT, and we'll open this regulatory change task. So you can use issues. There is no new button. That's interesting. Maybe I have to be Allison again. Let's go back to Allison. Wait, who's assigned to this? That might tell me better. Chuck. He's Chuck. Chuck is assigned to this. Why can't Chuck open an issue? That is weird. Usually I can open an issue, create issue. I don't know why the new button was missing on that screen, but I have an issue. Oh, I'm sorry, Jace. I took my headphones off, so I didn't hear these beep. So Jace says, move my head out of the way. On Edge, the right-click menu has an ellipsis to disable those suggestions. So let's go back to what I was complaining about there. Was that assigned to? Yeah, assigned to. So you said the right-click menu to disable these suggestions. Right-click. Search with Google Lens, open in reading mode, create a QR code, translate to English, page source, reload. Yeah, I don't have the same right click. I'm trying to right click the suggestions themselves. It's annoying. Yep. And then I'll check this menu up here too. Yeah. Suggestions. Yeah, it doesn't. I don't see anything like this. Is I think what happened to me before, Jace, is that I started like looking at it and was like, I don't have. Jace also said I don't have many comments. Yeah. What do you mean you don't have many comments? Is it because I missed your comment? Sorry about that. I didn't mean to miss your comment. This comment. So I notice your picture isn't showing up for me today, Jace. Did you take your picture off of LinkedIn? Or maybe the thing isn't logged in. I don't know. All right. So this I was just showing creating an issue. We can create an issue on anything basically in integrated risk management, and that has its own whole life cycle and stuff associated with it. I'm not seeing where we can associate the regulatory change alert. Issue manager, issue group, issue assigned to, watch list, due date, issue group rule. I can set the parent issue, which I don't need to in this case. Yeah, I don't know why that isn't showing. Issues. And there's no new issue button. Yeah, I'll put that on my list to follow up on. So, all right. Yeah, so I've gotten through most of what I wanted to show in this regulatory change demo. The only thing left that I think that I showed my customer when I was doing this is I went back in as admin and pulled up the system notifications so I could show them all the different notifications that are associated with it. Actually, I thought of two other things I can show you. Let me go to notifications first. This right here, and then I'll filter on the application. Filter application is GRC, regulatory change management, run, and there we got all our different notifications. Now in my demo environment, they're all active, but let's look at them here. Review a regulatory change task, review an import document task. We talked about that at the beginning. Reject the source import document task. So this has been rejected. Reject the regulatory change task. Regulatory feed is closed. Regulatory change task reminder approved. Last day. The important import document task reminder, deferred regulatory feed, cancel regulatory change task, assign something, assign, and then whether it's whether it is cannelled or approved. There's a little typo there in the out of the box notifications. That should be canceled, not cannelled. But I like cannelled. It made me laugh. Let's take a look at what that one looks like. On these notifications, there's a preview button so you can actually see what the notifications look like. And for my customer, I was like, hey, we may want to make this prettier or have additional details, more information. All that can be configured in the platform. The thing I thought of as I was pulling that up to share with you is the taxonomy that I was talking about at the beginning. The taxonomy was where we were on the dashboard. Let me go back to compliance workspace. So so if we're looking at the taxonomy here, I was showing you jurisdiction, theme, sector, regulatory body, content type. So all that is configurable. If I look for regulatory change management in the menu here, I should see a section for taxonomy. And there's my taxonomy classes. So I've got jurisdiction, regulatory body, sector, theme, and content type. If I want to create a new one, I can create a new one. It's that easy, right? It's not like rocket science. Let's go into jurisdiction, and we should see the taxonomy class mappings. So this would be, I have a class called jurisdiction in ServiceNow, and I may want to map something over, and let's use Thomson Reuters as an example. So let's say new, and we'll pick the provider as Thomson. Please be there. I know it's installed. Let's not. It's thinking. I froze my instance. There we go. Provider is a table name, and we will use Thomson Reuters. Oh, I didn't know I had other ones there. So here's some other providers as an example. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CRI, FF, IEC, CAT, International Organization for Securities. That's the one we were talking about. Let's use that one. So maybe it's the International Organization of the Securities, and their class is called, crypto. And we're going to map that to jurisdiction. I don't know. That's a weird mapping. Doesn't make sense, but let's say jurisdiction. Let's say country of origin or something like that. And then that's what they call their taxonomy. And we're going to map that to jurisdiction. That's essentially what these taxonomy class mappings do. So that's that. Let's look at the other ones. So if I go into regulatory bodies, I could see a list of regulatory bodies. Here's my central banks: Federal Reserve, Reserve Bank of Australia, international bodies, legislative bodies, regulators, self-regulatory organizations. Let's see, content types. We have guidance and guidelines, legislative materials, news, regulatory materials, reports, jurisdictions. We saw those already. And actually, it looks like those have a hierarchy to them. Yeah. So Singapore and Asia, nowhere in Australia, European Union in Europe, and Canada and the USA in North America for that one. And then sectors, banking and securities and commodities. Yeah. If you're curious, the Thomson Reuters, which is down here, they have their own uh, taxonomy and sectors. That's which word I was trying to think of. So they have a class of sector, and then there's banking, healthcare, insurance, securities, and commodities. So long story short there on the taxonomy is different regulating bodies might have their own taxonomy, which you can map into an internal taxonomy within ServiceNow. So your compliance team isn't like, has a bunch of different things that they're managing. We can map all this to what is there out of the box, or map it to categories or taxonomies that you've created as part of implementing the product or configuring the product. So we're at near the top of the hour. Open it up. Any questions? Anything else people want to see? Or if you want to tell me what happened on the Agentic AI live announcement, since I was here instead and couldn't go see it, I'm going to go watch it after this. Anyways, but I'll pause for a second and see if there are any questions. If you guys have suggestions for next week's live session, drop them in the chat wherever you're watching this, if it's on YouTube or LinkedIn, and you're like, hey, I'd really like to see Justin do this, drop them in the chat. I'll see that as it comes through. No promises. You might ask me to do something that I can't do, or it might require some time before I can do it. But, the people who were kind enough to come and watch, I'd love to do something. In fact, Joe, who's been one of our viewers, not sure if he's out there today, he actually suggested, I think it was the content management that I did a few live streams ago. So that actually came from one of you all, from Joe specifically. Right now, I haven't selected next week's topic, but I probably will today or tomorrow, so I can start working on the artwork for that. If you want to follow me, I'm on LinkedIn, YouTube. I do have accounts on Instagram, Reels, TikTok, and Threads, but I recently chose to stop, pushing a lot of content out to those places just because it wasn't producing anything, and I'm not sure people were really seeing them. So I'm really focusing on the YouTube and the LinkedIn content, and that's where you can find me and interact. And eventually, I'll have a page on my blog, justin.house, and there'll be a page there to make demo requests and stuff like that, and maybe a big donate button. Just kidding. Um, for stuff that you want to see. And it doesn't have to be ServiceNow. If there is something you're curious about or something you want to play with, there's lots of different things I do besides ServiceNow. And since Jace was here, he posted the other day about the new DeepSeek um, model coming out of China. And I haven't got to play with that yet. But stuff like that could be fun. It doesn't have to be ServiceNow. ServiceNow is just kind of like what I know and what I do, and this gives me a chance to practice and keep my skills up to date for demos. So again, if you guys have questions, if you guys have suggestions, leave them in the comments. I'll keep an eye out even after the live stream. And let me see, anything else I can think of to share with you guys on this one? Not really. That's regulatory change management. I've covered most of it. Again, it is a subset of the integrated risk management application with ServiceNow, or otherwise formerly known as governance, risk, and compliance. So if we're looking at the docs site, that is this application right here, governance, risk, and compliance. And I'll have to move my head again. It's going to show up right behind me. Regulatory change is one of the applications there, but you can see there's a lot more going on in this application than just regulatory change. You got audit, business continuity management, compliance case management, which we didn't really get into in the demo, continuous authorization and monitoring, operational resilience, policy and compliance, privacy management, regulatory change, which is what today's topic was, risk management, the smart assessment engine, which I installed, I think, in my PDI, but I haven't actually played with it. Third-party risk management, so and then GRC in the ServiceNow store, and common GRC features. Yep. So it's a big application, and I've done some demos on some of this stuff, but yeah. So that's where we were. That's how we got to regulatory change management. And there's no questions, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap and stop mumbling and carrying on. But thank you for everybody who's watched, participated, left me comments. Again, if you have suggestions about what you'd like to see in a future live session, drop a comment, YouTube or LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm very interactive, and I like discovering new things, and I appreciate you guys. So happy Wednesday, and happy last live stream of January 2025. Take care, guys.
I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, calling